Now we're ready to prepare our brass. After you get home from the range, it's a good idea to separate the brass by caliber. We've separated out a bunch of 308 brass here. The next thing we're going to do is remove the lid from the tumbler. After we've removed the lid, what we're going to do is fill the tumbler up with corncob media. You want to fill it till it's about 1.5 inches to 2 inches from the top. That looks about right. Next thing you're going to want to do is get some polish. The polish is going to make the brass tumble up shiny, it'll clean it up a lot quicker. Shake the polish up and add about 3 capfuls to the tumbler. Once you've added the polish, it's a good idea to turn the tumbler on and break up the large clumps. The clumps will end up getting inside the brass and forming like concrete. This should only take a couple minutes. Next, we can add our brass. We're using 308 brass, and about 200 pieces will fill it up. Next, we'll put the lid on and the washer rubber side down. Tighten the nut on the top. And turn it on. It'll take a good 35 to 40 minutes for the brass to polish clean. Brass looks clean and shiny, it's free of any debris. Now we'll get the separator out. The separator basket has a roll pin in it that locks into the tub. Make sure it's secured. Pull on the latch and open the top. We'll take the tumbler and dump the media directly into the separator basket. We'll close the lid and we'll rotate the handle to separate the media from the brass. It's a good idea to change direction. The brass is cleaned and separated. Now it's time to inspect the brass and lube it. While inspecting the cartridges, you need to look for signs of overpressure. Things to look for: primer's flattening, it loses its rounded edge. Cratering, the primer flows back around the firing pin. Rupturing, there's a hole completely through the center of the primer. Or if the primer is completely blown out of the case. Inspect your cases for gas leaking from around the primer pocket. You'll see this by a black sooty deposit around the primer. Case bulging, case cracking, or case head separation. Make sure that the brass that you tumbled and are ready to reload is actually the brass you fired. If you picked up someone else's brass, it may be Berdan or it may be a military casing. A Berdan case is easily identifiable by 2 flash holes inside the cartridge. You might need a flashlight to observe them. Military brass has usually a date stamp as to when it was manufactured. Military brass will be swaged later on. Now we'll get to lubing. Taking the brass out of the separator, placing it on a flat surface, laying the cartridges so that they're laying down, not standing upright. Taking the lube, spraying it lightly over the top, shaking the brass, and giving it a couple more sprays. And then you'll have to wait a couple minutes for the alcohol to dry off. You have to lube rifle brass or it'll get stuck in the die. It's a good idea to lube pistol brass as it requires a lot less effort once it's lubed. Rifle brass usually has to be trimmed, so it's a good idea to check it after you've sized it. You can trim it several ways, whether it be with an RT1200B rapid trimmer or with a hand trimmer.